Since 1999, the world was graced with three comedy shows that would shake the animated TV show scene. Family Guy by Seth MacFarlane brought in a wave of comedy-based shows. SpongeBob still remains Nickelodeon's most successful TV series to date, having not ended, and probably never will as long as Tom Kenny lives on. And a third show, Matt Groening's second show, Futurama. Futurama, as implied by the title, is the series I want to talk about with this video. The hard thing to decide about Futurama is what moments will make the list, since you could literally handpick any moment in the series and you wouldn't be in the wrong. Just a disclaimer, this list will almost entirely be composed of emotional moments because that's what makes up some of the best scenes in the show. So get comfy, because this video may cause you to experience sadness, depression, and best of all, Simpsons-itis, possibly. Number 10. Planet Express versus the Scammers. Bender's Big Score is considered the best movie of the bunch, having tons of hilarious lines to paradoxes galore. At the height of the movie, Planet Express, and anyone who can fight, squares off against the Scammers. What really makes the scene great is the one unique instance of the theme playing while the fight reaches its climax. With Hermes' head strapped into a machine that's connected to everyone's ship, they fight to save their world from the same people who conned them. This moment is one of the few that in the list that is from the films. The four films made for Futurama during its rough patch were very grand, as opposed to the normal small grandish stories a normal episode told. Thus, more time, more comedy, and more fun. This fight scene is perhaps one of the best in the series. Number 9. Everybody dies. No, seriously. Futurama is no stranger to killing characters, and having them seemingly come back to life so easily. Any character can be decapitated, as shown by Hermes in the film. Bender gets crippled by a can opener, and Fry has his share of death experiences. So when the show decides to kill the entire cast, including Zap and Kif, it legitimately makes you wonder if they were okay. In the fourth film, Into the Wild Green Yonder, the Planet Express crew flees Zap after being under arrest for 53 counts of fugitivity. The movie ends with Fry and Leela embracing in an expert display of tonguesmanship. In the episode Rebirth, we find out that they all crashed horribly and died, except for Farnsworth. It was quite the shocking moment to back to after the show went on hiatus. Despite death being avoided, they all crash, and they technically died. Except since the head survived, they didn't. But it was a great moment nonetheless, and a great start to a new series. Number 8. The Sting. As mentioned previously, people die in Futurama. A lot, especially Fry. So here's a truly saddening episode with the first time Fry truly dies. I may or may not be correct about this. In the episode, Fry, Leela, and Bender go to retrieve honey from a giant beehive planet. A mistake occurs and Fry gets stung by a bee, seemingly killing him. Leela, for the rest of the episode, has to deal with the loss of Fry, hallucinating about him and nearly committing suicide by eating too much honey. The scene in particular is the ending, where we see Leela scared as bees surround her, and fake, not dead Fry tells her to wake up. It turns out Fry waited by Leela's bedside since Leela was the one who got poison in her system, and was in a coma hoping Fry wasn't dead. It was a really good episode with a twist that surprised me when I was younger. The Sting is a great episode, and so is this moment. Number 7. Lethal Inspection. Counting down the list, we have a moment from a later season. Bender learns of his mortality as he learns he could die any time between 1 second and the end of time. The person he blames is a former bureaucrat working for Mom named Inspector 5. This inspector's whereabouts are a mystery, but Hermes agrees to help him find the inspector. In a climax of bullets and Mom's robots trying to get rid of Bender because of his imperfection, the two of them escape, and the secret of Inspector 5 is lost forever, until you learn the real truth. In a grand reveal, it turns out that Hermes is Inspector 5, and in a beautiful moment, passes baby Bender and allows him to live in the world despite his flaws. It's like a commentary on birth defects. Number 6. Leela and Fry Forever. Literally. As far as episodes go, the late Philip J. Fry is considered a near masterpiece. The premise, the comedy, and the setups all make this episode fantastic. Bender, Farnsworth, and Fry use a time machine Farnsworth invented to go back a couple seconds into the future. Rather than going forward slowly, they accidentally go 1,000 years into the future. This episode kind of mirrors another episode in which Fry and his former girlfriend Michelle freeze themselves, but with different results. Anywho, they keep going forward to the end of the Earth when nothing's left. It's in this moment that Fry discovers a note left by Leela in the cave they ate dinner in once. If Fry and Leela weren't officially lovers at this point, they were now. This is the defining moment of their relationship, as Fry regrets his actions when they dated beforehand. This moment truly deserves a spot on this list. Leela waited forever for Fry, many years, and even had to put up with young Cubert's shenanigans. But in the end, she still cared about him enough to leave him a letter, a note that aged through time in that cave. And when Fry found it, it made for one of the greatest scenes in the show. Number 5. Leela's Origins. For what seemed like an eternity, Leela always considered herself an alien, whereas she was actually a, spoilers, mutant. Leela's a very developed character, but this was her biggest moment in arguably the whole series. It's a very emotional moment combined with the fact that her parents watched over her entire life. There's not much to say, but a few seconds of that scene describe it pretty well, especially that music that plays along. Number 4. A Game of Feels. Throughout Futurama, Fry has had an opportunity to experience emotional scenes with each of his family. His brother, dog, father, and mother all give some of the greatest scenes in the show. This moment allows Fry to directly connect to his mother through one of her dreams to deliver a heartfelt goodbye shortly after his disappearance. This moment comes from an episode where Seth MacFarlane voices Fry's dog, so that's quite a testament to the power of this scene. I'm glad Futurama staff snuck in the final member of the Fry family to deliver one of the last tear-jerking scenes in the show. And speaking of tear-jerking scenes, number 3, One Last Time. Futurama's influence on cartoons spanned the course of 14 years. Over its years, it gave us some hearty laughs, hearty tears, and hearty heartfelt moments. In the final scene of the show, Fry and Leela are old, like Professor Farnsworth old. They go back to the tower that they both had dinner on and earlier in the episode, when Professor Farnsworth greets them, telling them the only way to fix time is to go back to the past and relive the same experiences as before. The whole sequence before this is also noteworthy since it shows off a good amount of the cast, all frozen in time, while Leela and Fry use them as a human swing. It's one of the best endings to a TV series ever, and it's absolutely worthy of a spot on this list. Not to boast or anything. But seriously though, the power of this scene and just Leela and Fry watching the sunset one last time as they kiss, they embrace, and the series ends seriously shows off everything great about this series. And if you don't believe me, just watch it for yourself. And then watch it again. And then again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Number 2. And then here's this one. Through form and form, this scene constantly pops up. It's one of the most memorable scenes in an animated show to date. It pops up most on Reddit threads that are repeated each week on Ask Reddit. It's the Seymour scene. It's Seymour and Fry and a whole lot of walking on sunshine. It's a scene that literally Seymour waiting for Fry for 12 years, getting older as he waits for his owner. This scene relates to me a lot since I had a dog that recently had to be put down, and he was around the same age as Seymour. The last moment that he closes his eyes are especially emotional, but there are some who consider the next scene to be a classic as well. If Seymour had one task, it would be to duke it out with this next scene. So Seymour, you and your If It Takes Forever can go and fight against number 1. Philip J. Fry. Fry stands at his brother's grave to hate him for changing his name to Fries. As soon as he wipes away the moss covering the grave, he notices the following inscription: "Here lies Philip J. Fry, named for his uncle to carry out his spirit." Having a brother, this is another close hitting episode, because this episode demonstrates the pact brothers share. It's an episode that many brothers and sisters share. It's Futurama at its finest. It's arguably the best scene in the show. Yancey is Fry's rival in everything they do. Fry gets an upper hand against Yancey and becomes a great rapper and basketball player as a result. Later in life, Yancey's son's success is all because of the clover he inherited from his uncle. And let's not forget a very important missing piece from this scene, the fact that Yancey broke tradition and named his son Philip instead of Yancey. Every generation there must be a Yancey, and Fry's brother broke hundreds of years of tradition because his brother disappeared. I know that a dog dying on TV with beautiful music playing helps the scene become a classic, but because of similar experiences the Fries have with me, it gets my pick for the best scene in the show. A scene in a slew of scenes that help Futurama land itself one of the best animated shows